What's going on, guys? Welcome back to 4K Motoring. I'm Chris, and today we're going to do just a very simple Corvette update. This is something that you guys have probably experienced in your own C5 Corvettes, or you've seen older cars in general that have this issue. This time period of GM cars in general, the quality of these sun visors really left a lot to be desired, and they gave us what is kind of known as the dog ears, which is present really on both sides, where the sun visors themselves will actually break the internals because it's just a piece of cardboard in here. We also have lights that really don't shut off and they end up killing the battery. We ended up doing a little bit of just double-sided 3M tape to kind of help press this button a little bit, so it's more of a switch related thing or a warping, but these will even sometimes pull out of the sun visors. Now, as terrible as that is, there are some not too terribly expensive solutions and some much more modern solutions to take their place. So let's go ahead and get into it and see how easy this is to fix. Not to interrupt this video for too long, but I know price of gas has gotten entirely too high. This is not a sponsored ad, this is just something that I've been using personally that has helped quite a bit. It's given a lot of money back. The Upside app. If you guys have heard of this thing, it's been around for quite a few years now. I know they started with just gasoline, they went to grocery stores, and now even some restaurants. Basically, you just buy what you'd normally buy and you get cash back. There's an app that lets you see how much cash back you'll get at different locations, for example, gas stations, and it actually does put money back in your pocket whenever you fill up the tank here. I'm going to leave a code on the screen to get started on Upside. That'll give you an additional couple cents off per gallon on your first couple fill-ups. And if your Corvette's like mine, it is very thirsty in the city, that is a welcomed application. Again, not sponsored, just something I've noticed in my life that actually has made a difference. Thought I'd share it with you guys. Let's get back to the video. Okay, so what we ended up finding was a set of the updated sun visors for this car. Now, this is something that is sold by several sites really at this point. I think I found these on eBay, Amazon has them, CNS Corvettes, a lot of other companies have them. This is the updated design for these sun visors. What it gets you is basically an OEM replacement. It has all of the mounting solutions that you will need. And then as we open it up here, we can see that the fabric used is a much nicer fabric than the factory. This fabric, even when new, was pretty terrible quality. And while this isn't a huge departure, it is definitely better than that. It's going to have upgraded LED lights in here and a different center mounted push button mechanism. And the internal, instead of cardboard, is plastic. So it should not be breaking quite the same as the outdated, late 90s, early 2000s GM equivalent. This is going to be a pretty easy install. The only tool we really need is a little flathead screwdriver. Okay, I don't know how much light there is on this, but we'll see. What we're looking for is a small groove that's right up in that bracket under there. You guys should be able to see that. So the hinge mechanism in general, when you fold this down, obviously this is a rotating mechanism. You'll see as I rotate the arm here, the actual bracket inside does not rotate. So what we're going to end up doing is basically putting a small screwdriver in there that can fit that slot. That way we can use this arm as leverage and basically force this whole mechanism to rotate in order for it to be released. Since we have a bit more light on this one, hopefully we can see pretty easily little groove right on top, right there. I know it's starting to come out of focus, but that's what we're going to be looking for. As we look on the other side of the actual plug itself, we'll see we have 3 triangles that come on the outsides. 2 of them are very pointed, and one of them has a kind of rounded, more blunted end. So we're going to keep note of that as we pull out the old sun visor, just to make sure we keep all of the orientation in the correct spot. Okay, trying to film one person while doing this. This may not turn out well, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna find that groove that's right there. Try not to put my finger in the way. You can kind of see where the screwdriver's in, and now we're gonna use this arm as leverage to hopefully spin it. We might need a little thicker screwdriver. There we go. And it releases just like that. Once it releases, it can come out, and that is what we want. We'll see the plug is in here, kind of hidden. Just have to do a little bit of wiggling to get that to release. We might have to do this plastic trim bezel as well. There we go. Okay. Here's our plug right there that we will disconnect, and that'll get us over to our new mechanism. So when we look at this trim piece that came out of the hole up here, we can see the triangles are existing, and we can see the shape of the triangles as well. That's going to be relevant to the shape of the bracket that's going to go into them. Side by side, we have the new and the old together. The mounting brackets that came off the car are exactly the same as the mounting brackets for the new visor. And we'll see one of the big things that we feel is that this whole area here, this cardboard that we can actually see through a little bit, is totally destroyed, and you can actually see under here how this was even pulling apart and was not secured in there. And that's all just a cardboard layer inside. So we don't have that issue anymore. Nothing's pulling apart. It's all tight in this one. We even have our stickers that we did on the factory one. Obviously it's a little different place, but still have a factory sticker up there. So this should be a perfect replacement. Okay, so I'm trying to give you guys the best view I can of this. So we do want to put this bracket on the wire first. Now we're going to verify our wiring connector fits, which it does. Obviously we knew the orientation of this when it came out from our last one. So we want to make sure we know the orientation that this bracket's going to go back in. We want to hide our wires first because they were tucked out of the way. There we go. And now we're going to fully arrange this bracket. Okay, once we have that in, we're going to hide the wires, make sure it's tucked away because that was a big issue on the last one. Okay. Now we're going to rotate this and install it and see. We need to perhaps get this to rotate in, and once we do that, we can see our bracket is now no longer rotating. It is secured inside. We have the sun visor that is free to rotate. It is stiff, it has tension. When putting it down, it still rotates to the side and back. Still clips in to our factory spot nice and tight and flips up. We are done. And that's as difficult as the installation is. Okay, with the passenger side, now that we know what to do and we have experience doing it, let's see if we can more quickly take this one off. Okay, it is out. We got the wiring inside that is tucked away. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the wiring. That one's off. We're going to place the new one in. And this bracket, so it doesn't get lined up incorrectly, is going to have a locating tab, which makes it pretty easy to get right. Okay, we're going to go ahead and plug up our new one. Now that it is connected fully, make sure the wiring is tucked up inside. That is, okay, rotate it up in, and it is locked, just like that. Functional, flips up, flips down, has lights that work, and secures. So we have 2 installed, that is complete. They both work great. The lights, LED, much more modern than the old halogens that were in there, and no more dog ears. For those curious, I figured we could just tear one of these apart just so you could see how the old ones were built and what the failure points were. So we can already see that the light pretty well pulls out, and there's not a lot that's holding it in. There's a pin on the bottom. The plastic broke. There it is. Alright, so the bottom of the mirror had a couple little locating pins that went around that kind of held it in place, as did at some point the top. And we can see around this cardboard cutout all the little holes that locate it. We've got our wiring tucked in there and our bulbs that are replaceable on the back side. If we cut apart here at the dog ear, our fabric, we can see the cardboard inside that has pretty well, I guess there was a layer of foam that was on it that has disintegrated, as most of it has in this car. And you can see just the cardboard that more or less built this whole thing. That's basically the whole thing, before we make too much of a mess. You can see inside the top there's going to be a small metal bracket that has basically bound all the cardboard together. It's a thicker piece of cardboard in the middle. And that's how these visors worked. As you saw, installation really was that easy. All you need is a small flathead screwdriver, and this can be done by anyone. Like I said, right around $100 is what this set is going for, you know, a full pair for a car. It's not too bad, and for control surfaces, stuff that actually affects your daily life and your drivability of these cars, I think that's a must-do, especially if you have the dog ears, if your lights are falling apart, or really if you just have the original sun visors on these cars from the quality. It is worth the upgrade. As always, thanks for watching 4K Motoring. I'm Chris. If you haven't already, hit that like button and subscribe. Please do. It does help us out. We'll see you next time.